All right. Uh, well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have an extremely short book. Extremely short book, but it's probably one of my favorite stories. I think, the story of Esther's something else, but Ruth is special, and there's a couple of verses in there that just smash home. So we're gonna be putting Ruth to the Old Testament read-alongs playlist, um, and that's what this is. You guys know the deal already. You bring your Bible, we read the entire book, we go over every single verse by verse, and that's it. I mean, it's really simple, and we try and knock out at least half a book every time we go live, or if not the whole thing. Right? There are some that are just it would take hours and hours and hours, but at the end of the day, here we are. Today we're going to put Ruth up here. So for those of you that are finding this and you're just now coming to the channel, it just is what it is. There's no sugarcoating anything. There's no way I'm ever gonna I would never want to get around it. I mean, you're gonna have to see the verses. John 8:34 down there. It's going across the bottom of the screen, way down there. It says, Jesus answered them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin, I'm waiting for it to go. Whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. Period. If you still sin, you are still of the devil. You can say you believe all you want. You can think you believe all you want. You can go to the heathen buildings every Sunday. You can take part in what they call communion. You're just eating and drinking damnation on yourself. Every time you sin, you prove who you serve. You cannot, under any circumstance, on any planet, you cannot serve two masters. Period. I mean, even that in itself is kind of mimicked in the world, right? So if you go to work for a really high-end company, like let's say you go to work for Ferrari, they're going to make you sign a non-disclosure and a whole bunch of other stuff. I forget what it's actually called. They used to put me on them in the car business. It was part of the application. But you can't work for anybody else. You cannot serve two masters. If you still sin, then you prove who you serve. Real believers, physically, it's impossible for a real believer to sin. Spiritually, physically, in imagination land, it's physically impossible for a real believer to sin. And it just is what it is. I mean, it just is what it is. There's no getting around it. Jesus said, whoever sins is a servant of sin. If you still sin and you claim to be saved, you're calling Jesus a liar. And Jesus did not lie. You're just lying to yourself. So Ruth is not about any of that, though. What up, farmer? Ruth is not about any of that. Ruth is a story of just a virtuous woman, And I mean, there's a lot more to her than just that, and we'll get into all that. But it's a very good book, and I intend on doing, I intend on doing good by her name tonight. I think, it just is what it is. Like, I'm married to that kind of woman, so for me, I'm like, this is a good book. So, and this will be in the playlist called Old Testament read-alongs. There's 3 of those. There's a New Testament read-along, Prophets read-alongs, Old Testament read-alongs, all on the playlist page of the channel. You can go there and go through the playlist and just read along with us. Check my work. If I was lying to you, you should be able to point it out because I'm just going by the book. And at the end of the day, I'm not lying to you, which is why nobody can ever prove it. Like, everybody calls me a liar, but nobody can seem to prove it because I'm not. At the end of the day, it's just going to be a good story. After that, I will open it up. I mean, it's always comments all the time anyway. It's all live. I don't run from anybody ever. There's no reason to. They run from us, and that's what it should be. That's really what it should be. Oh, I'm excited about this tonight. I've been waiting to get through this, and then after Ruth, it's look. So we go Ruth, and then we start getting into. These are this is like the Gospels of the Old Testament: 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, 1st, 2nd Chronicles. it's the same story told from 3 different perspectives, or a whole bunch of different perspectives, really. And it's really just neat to watch. And after those, just Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther, and we're done. We've got the whole Bible up. So, yeah, Book of Ruth is really good. This is King David's grandma. That's who she is. She's King David's grandma, and she's a virtuous woman. You'll see. And then after that, I think I've got a pretty good discussion set up for this, about godly women and what it means to be one. I'm not a woman. I can't tell you what it means to be a woman. I can tell you that a woman has a vagina, a real one. A woman has a womb. A woman carries children. A woman swings them babies from her boobies. A woman is a woman. This world is so fucked. But at the end of the day, we're going to talk about godly women, what that means. Because essentially it's the same thing as being a godly man. It's just going by the book, right? Making sure you line up with the book, actually being a believer. But there's it's really not a lot. It's really just not a lot. But Ruth was a good woman, and it's part of it. So we're going to do it. I hope you guys all brought your Bibles. It is the book right after Judges. So you got Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges. Andrew Tate. I mean, he's an unbeliever. That's my thoughts on him. As far as his manhood is concerned, not the Johnson itself, but just him as a man, I think he's pretty on point. He's about his business. He's very cut and dry, and it's the same shit I've been saying my whole life. It really doesn't, all these women run around saying they don't need men. That's a fucking lie. That'd be like a man saying he doesn't need a woman. That's a fucking lie too. And just like a man saying he is a woman, that's a fucking lie. Or a woman trying to be a man, that's a fucking lie. It doesn't work that way. Sorry. And if the world were to last another 1,000 years, when the archaeologists dig you up in 1,000 years, you can tell yourself if you're a guy, you can tell yourself you're a girl all you want. That's fine. Whatever. We're not under any law. I'm not here to judge you for it. But in 1,000 years, when they dig up your body, you can bet your ass they're going to check your box as male. So, the skeletal structure does not lie. DNA does not lie. God does not make mistakes, man. So, and that right there, broken heart, that's a shitty statement. That's a shitty statement, because that tells me right there, this right here, and we're going to get into this later. This statement right there tells me what you're all about. And if you don't have a dude, that's why right there. It just is what it is. That's a shallow fucking statement. The fact that you value currency, money, the fact that you value money at all is shallow in itself, right? Because money doesn't mean shit at the end of the day. Money doesn't make you a good person. Money doesn't mean, just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you're a believer. Just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean shit. At the end of the day, if that's what you value, that actually tells me that your character is garbage. So I just, nope. Ruth, but we're going to talk about all that after. There's a couple chapters that we're going to touch on after Ruth. But I'm just excited, man. I really like this. Everybody, so this would be, Ruth is David's grandma. And there's some things about her, and I wonder if anybody ever catches this. More money, more problems, but give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Money has no effect on the Bible. Money has no effect on God's word. Money has no effect on the afterlife. Money has no effect on really anything, because at the end of the day, the more money you have, you're never going to be happy. Money does not bring happiness. A career does not bring happiness. You may feel like you have a purpose, but you don't, because at the end of the day, when you're old, brittle, wrinkly, saggy ass is sitting in a fucking wheelchair in a nursing home somewhere, and your kids pissed through your retirement or pissed through everything you left them, and you're sitting there, the real question is, who's going to be wiping your ass? Who's going to be wiping your ass in the end? Can you take any of it with you? No. Money just makes people bitter. Money makes people hypocrites. Money makes people rotten. And at the end of the day, the people that value money in that sense, where they need it to, what's the word? The people who value money and they need it to validate themselves, And in this respect, I would say somebody like Andrew Tate, if they need money to what's the word to if they see money as their self-worth, then their self-worth is only worth the paper that the money's printed on, which isn't shit. If you take a lighter and hold it to it, what happens? Ashes. There's nothing there, right? Money is the root of all evil, and that is word for word what the Bible says. The money is the root of all evil. It is it's really an unnecessary evil. So Ruth chapter 1 verse 1. Hope you guys are ready. I'm very excited about this. I love this book. It's going to go quick. This isn't going to be 2-3 hour Bible study, but just follow along. Ruth chapter 1 verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled. So it's telling you in the days when the judges ruled. So part of this story was happening while Judges was happening. And for those of you that follow along with the channel, you know that we just finished Judges 2 nights ago. So if you haven't done Judges yet, go back to Judges. And somewhere in there, this was happening. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab. He and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech. And the name of his wife, Naomi. And the name of his 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion. Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. Ephrathites. That's the Ephraim, tribe of Ephraim, whatever. You get it. So the Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. So the name of the man and his wife and his 2 sons, Elimelech, Naomi, Mahlon, Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died. Now, we'll just get into that. And she was left and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. So you got to remember, Elimelech was a Jew. Naomi was a Jew. The 2 sons were Jews. And they took wives of the women of Moab. So they were stepped outside of their, I wouldn't even say Jew, I would say Hebrew. They stepped outside of their race and took them wives of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other, Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. So they all stayed. Naomi, Mahlon, Chilion, Orpah, and Ruth stayed in Moab for 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died, also both of them. And the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. So Naomi lost her husband and her 2 sons. I mean, imagine that. Like, I remember watching my mom when she lost my sister. No bueno. I know what it felt like losing my dad. Well, growing up without him, knowing he was lost. That is what it is. Just, I can't even, it is what it is. And Mahlon and Chilion died, also both of them, and the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. And also, what I find unique to everybody that knows us, right? So everybody that knows us, everybody that knows what we preach, that's been through here, been through this for a long time. How many times do I tell people all the time, don't listen to sinners, don't hang out with sinners, don't have, just fucking, we're severed from them. We preach to them, we teach them the gospel, we love them, but we don't trust them. Don't spend, whatever. You're not coming in my house, like, but unless it's for the Bible study, like that's what it is. And I would point out that Elimelech and Naomi went into Moab with their 2 sons. And what ended up happening? When they left Israel and they went into a land that was not their own, what ended up happening? Elimelech died. The 2 sons died. I mean, she's going through it, being in the land of the sinners. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab, for she heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her. And they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, Return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. So Naomi tells Opa and Ruth that your husbands are dead. Just go back home to your own mom's house. You know, you've been very kind to me. May the Lord deal with you the same. The Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. So she's hoping that they get remarried. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her, surely we will return with thee unto thy people. So Naomi and Opa both said, hey, or not Naomi, Ruth and Opa both said, hey, we'll go with you back to your people. And Naomi said, turn again, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb that you may that they may be your husbands? Turn again, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband also tonight and should also bear sons, would you tarry for them till they were grown? Would you stay for them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. So Naomi tells the two girls, go back home. You know, there's nothing more you can really do for me. Even if I got married tonight and I had sons, are you gonna sit and wait around until they're old enough to marry you? Like, you know, is that what's gonna happen? She just said, go back, you know, you've been kind to me. Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. So Orpah leaves. She kissed her. She had her permission. She did nothing wrong. She went back home. Ruth clave to her. And she said, behold, thy sister-in-law has gone back unto her people. Now here's the kicker here. And I want you to pay attention because while it's a good story, there's still little hints in here. There's subtle hints. And she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. So Orpah was given permission, relieved as a widow, and told, go back to your people. And she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go. And whither thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and here's the kicker, and thy God, my God. So here's how you know Ruth knew the truth. On top of everything else, Ruth knew the truth. Because she told specific, very specific. She said, wherever you go, I'm going. I'm not going back to my people. Your God is my God. Right? Ruth was not going back to that way of life at all. She was going to stick with her. Where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. Okay. Where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me. I need this back up here. Okay. Where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. So Ruth tells Naomi, I'm not leaving you. The only thing that would make me leave you is death. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left, speaking unto her. So Naomi stopped telling her to leave when she realized Ruth made her choice. Ruth chose. And this is what she chose right here. And thy God, my God. So we know Ruth, even as a Moabitess, even as a Moabite, Ruth chose to believe. She chose it. Where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left off speaking to her. So they two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them. And they said, is this Naomi? And she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara. For the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. So Naomi being a believer, Ruth being a believer, Naomi even knows Like she's not, she's not ditching God. She's not none of that. She went back to her own home country. She was hurting. She was hurting. That's, it just is what it is. And she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? Now she sees it that way. And I would see it that way too, because you left your home country. You went and lived in the land of the sinners. You went and lived with the Moabites. Your sons married Moabite women. Everything that was written in law has been, obviously discarded there. But she still believes, but she just knows. And then she went home, like the prodigal son, I went out full, the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call you me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. And Naomi, chapter 2, and Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. Now what's neat about this, so gleaning, right, just means to gather. Glean means to gather. In fact, I'll show you guys, because it's a really old term used for harvest. Gather, left behind reapers. To gather, left behind by the reapers. To gather grain left behind by reapers. To collect bit by bit. Synonym is reap. Okay, so gleaning is just to collect. And if you go into the Old Testament law, if you get into the Levitical law that Jesus fulfilled and we're no longer under, if you go into the law, the people, when they got their land, they were commanded by the Lord that, they were to, the stuff that falls on the ground, they were to leave there for the poor people. So like if the grape gatherers are out there gathering grapes and a bunch fall on the ground, they were to leave them there so that the poor people would come through later and pick it up. So this is what she's out in the field doing. She's out there being a poor person, just trying to gather enough food for her and Naomi. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and her hap was to light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. Two things, pay attention here. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and her hap, short for happenstance, her reasoning for be there, and her reason was to light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. And it's obviously not written, but you already know Naomi, coming back into Bethlehem, knew who she was going to go rely on. She knew about Boaz, which is Elimelech's brother. So she knew about Boaz. So you can assume, it's safe to assume, that Naomi and Ruth had a discussion about Boaz being a successful dude and somebody they could go to when they needed somebody. And that's where Ruth was like, look, this is your kinsman, this is your husband's brother. I'm just gonna go glean in his field. I'm just gonna go pick up what's left behind in his field. That way, if he came through, she could say, hey, I know Naomi, and he'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. But anyway, and she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and her hap was to light on the part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said unto the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they answered him, the Lord bless thee. Then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers, whose damsel is this? So Boaz sees this random strange chick out in the field picking up the ears of corn off the ground. And he's like, whose chick is that? Whose damsel is this? And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, It is the Moabitess damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and hath continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and hath continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. So even after doing all the gleaning, she went in and did a little work in the guy's house to help him out. Then said Boaz unto Ruth, Hearest not thou my daughter? Or hearest thou not my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? So he's telling her, look, you don't got to go anywhere else. You can just stay here. See the maidens I've got out there picking up? Go with them. And when thou art athirst, when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink of that which the young men have drawn. Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground and said unto him, Why have I found grace in thine eyes, that thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing I am a stranger? So she was shocked. This guy's stepped up, and he's like, yo, we're going to take care of you. Don't even worry about it. And Boaz answered and said unto her, It hath been fully showed me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother and the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knewest not heretofore. So he's like, I've heard that you stuck by Naomi after her husband died, then again stuck by her after your own husband died. And when you could have gone home, you didn't. You came all the way out here to be around a bunch of people you don't know. So now you're staying here. It's pretty fucking cool, man. 12. The Lord recompense thy work. The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust. And there it is again. Boom. The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust. So in chapter 1, she says, I'm going to believe in your God. Your God is my God. And then in here, now you start seeing the people know that Ruth is a believer. Then she said, Let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord, for that thou hast comforted me, and for that thou hast spoken friendly unto thine handmaid, though I be not like unto one of thine handmaidens. So she wasn't like the rest of them. And Boaz said unto her, At mealtime come thou hither, and eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel in the vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, and she did eat, and was sufficed, and left. And when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, Let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproach her not. So this is where Boaz tells the actual servants, they're doing the real work. He says, let her glean behind you guys among the actual sheaves. And let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her, and leave them that she may glean them, and rebuke her not. So like behind her back, he's like, make sure you drop a little extra she's picking up. She needs it. They need it. And don't rebuke her for it. So she gleaned in the field until even, and beat out that she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. And she took it up and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave to her that she had reserved after she was sufficed. And she took it up and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave to her that she had reserved after she was sufficed. So everything that Ruth had saved, even after she ate, she gave it to Naomi. And her mother-in-law said unto her, What hast thou gleaned today? And where wroughtest thou? Where'd you work? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee. And she showed her mother-in-law with who? Hiccups. And she showed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said, The man's name with whom I wrought today is Boaz. And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, Blessed be he of the Lord, who hath not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead. And Naomi said unto her, The man is near of kin unto us, one of our next kinsmen. And Ruth the Moabitess said, so Naomi, this is where Naomi tells her who Boaz really is. And Ruth the Moabitess said, He said unto me also, Thou shalt keep fast by my young men until they have ended all my harvest. And Naomi said unto Ruth, her daughter-in-law, It is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field. So Naomi's telling her, listen, instead of going behind the guys, even though he told you it's okay, do not. She said, stay in the field with the maidens. Don't let anybody find you anywhere else. This is a big deal here. And Naomi said unto Ruth, her daughter-in-law, It is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field. So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the end of barley harvest and of wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. So right here, you see in verse 23, so she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz. So instead of going out with the guys like she could have, she stayed by the maidens. She stayed in the field of the maidens. She listened to Naomi. She did what she was told. So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the end of barley harvest and of wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, My daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whose maidens thou was? Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash thyself therefore, and anoint thee, and put thy raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the floor. But make not thyself known unto the man, until he shall have done eating and drinking. And it shall be, when he lieth down, that thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie, and thou shalt go in and uncover his feet, and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. So this is Naomi telling Ruth what to do for Boaz. This is Naomi telling Ruth, this is what you do. This is what you do. And she said unto her, All that thou sayest unto me, I will do. Again, Ruth listened. And she went down unto the floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn. And she came softly and uncovered his feet and laid her down. Uncovered his feet, and she laid down. Not next to him. She laid at the end. She laid at the foot of the pile. She laid on the ground while he laid on the corn. And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay where? At his feet. And he said, Who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. So she asked, hey, can, you've got this fucking nighttime garb on. Can you let me use the end of it as a blanket? And he said, Who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. And he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. Look at that. So Boaz noticed. Boaz was paying attention. I mean, he obviously woke up and was so drunk he didn't even realize who the fuck she was at first. But he noticed, and he's been paying attention. And he's like, right there. Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether be poor or rich. So when Naomi told her to stay in the field with the maidens, she said, don't go run around playing with them boys. They're just boys. Stay in the field with the maidens. It was noticed. 11. And now, my daughter, fear not. I will do to thee all that thou requirest. For all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. Why? Why? Because she wasn't out in the field whoring around with the boys. She stayed with the maidens. She stayed at work. She worked her ass off for her and Naomi. She wasn't about that. She wasn't about the fucking around with the guys. She wasn't trying to just fucking mooch off people. She busted her ass. I will do thee all that thou requirest, for all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. And now it is true that I am thy near kinsman. Howbeit there is a kinsman nearer than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman's part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to thee, then will I do the part of a kinsman to thee. As the Lord liveth, lie down until the morning. And so what he's saying is that we're very closely related. You know, that in-law thing, we're very closely related. And the in-laws really, so like, we all know that according to the law, if the husband died, the wife was supposed to be taken by the next brother, right? But both the brothers were dead, so she had nobody that she could have gone to. So this guy, you know, was a near kinsman, but he knew that there was somebody closer, and due to the law, he would have had the first right to take her as a wife. And he said, if he won't do it, though, I will, because you're a virtuous woman. And she lay at his feet until the morning, and she rose up before one could know another. And he said, let it not be known that a woman came into the floor. Also he said, bring the veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her, and she went into the city. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, who art thou, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done unto her. And she said, these 6 measures of barley gave he me, for he said to me, go not empty unto thy mother-in-law. Then said she, sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will fall, for the man will not be in rest until he have finished the thing this day. So even Naomi knew. She's like, just relax. Trust me, this guy wants you. He's not going to stop until he finishes this and sees it through. It's kind of neat seeing how all this, you know, and it's still the relationship between men and women, even to this day, it's still like this. Like, you know, if a guy finds a good woman, he's not gonna rest until he locks it down, right? That's what it is. And you can see that it was the same thing. And Naomi knew. She wasn't stupid. Ruth 4. Then went Boaz up to the gate and sat him down there. And behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. So this is the other kinsman that had the first rights according to law to the word is redeem, to redeem all of what is it? Hang on. I don't want to butcher it. Elimelech, right? Okay, Elimelech, yes. Elimelech. So this guy would have had the first rights to redeem all of Elimelech's property, you know, so, wives, whatever, he would have had the first right. Then went Boaz up to the gate and sat him down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, sit ye down here. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of the land, which was our brother Elimelech's. So this guy, you can see Boaz said that this guy had first right to it. This other kinsman guy, they don't ever give his name, but they said this guy had first right to it, so he would have been the next in line. Boaz would have been a little younger than him. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me that I may know, for there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. So the other kinsman's like, yeah, I'll redeem it. Then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, which is also a part of the law. So if this guy were to redeem it, he would get Ruth with it. He would have to pay Ruth and Naomi, and he would also have to raise up a son with the name of Ruth's dead husband, which would have been Mahlon or Chilla, whatever the, hang on, or Chilion, Mahlon or Chilion, whoever she was married to. So then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. And what he says right here, cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. It's just him saying he didn't have enough money for all of that, and he would have just screwed himself if he did it. So he said, you redeem it. I can't do it. Now this was the manner in the former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing, for to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe, and Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, you are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, that's who she was married to, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place. You are witnesses this day. So Boaz bought not just the fields from Naomi and Ruth, he bought Ruth and wifed her. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah. Like Rachel and Leah. If you guys will remember that story. Does anybody remember that story? Good old Jacob. Good old Isaac, man. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel. And do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. Boom. Moabite becomes what? Believer. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the woman said unto Naomi, blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age, for thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him. And Naomi took the child, and laid it on her bosom, and began to nurse it. And the woman, her neighbors, gave it a name. And the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now these are the generations of Perez. Perez begot her Hezron. Hezron begot Ram. Ram begot Aminadab. Aminadab begot Nahshon. Nahshon begot Salmon. Salmon begot Boaz. Boaz begot Obed. And Obed begot Jesse. And Jesse begot David. So David comes from a Moabite woman. They don't teach you that in the heathen buildings. It's good shit. But through all this, the things I want to talk about, right, at the end of this, and the things I want you to pay attention to. One, Ruth could have gone in the field with the guys, with the young men. She could have found someone her age. She could have taken care of Naomi. She could have done all that. She had permission to do whatever she wanted to do. She chose not to. She chose to work her ass off She chose to keep to herself, keep quiet. She chose to do what she was told by Naomi. She chose to believe in God. She chose to really believe. She didn't choose the bullshit you see sinners nowadays saying they believe but they still sin. No, she chose the truth, and she stuck to it. And in the end, it paid off. You didn't see her whoring around. Nowhere in there do you see her whoring around with those guys. You didn't. None of it. She stuck with Naomi. She kept her word. And that's a woman of God. And you'll notice that throughout the whole Bible, the women of God all have that same characteristic. They're not whores. They're not whores. They're not. It's not about. It's not about. I wouldn't say it was even about money for Ruth either. It was just about survival. It's not about fucking status and blah 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 blah. It wasn't about not being broke, because she was poor, and she was cool being poor. She was out in the field with the maids just picking up the shit that fell on the ground. Like, she was cool just being a servant, and she wasn't a whore, and she was honorable in that. And that's what that's what parents are failing to teach their kids today. That's what dads are failing to teach their daughters today. They fail at that. They don't know how to teach their children that. And this is what I get into. Like this, when I sit down and I do Bible with my daughters, a big thing with them and me raising them, skin deep beauty, right? The word, just look at the word makeup. Like, a believer can't sin. You can do whatever the fuck you want. If you're a real believer, you're not under any law, you can do whatever you want. But I will tell you that, a real believing woman is going to go by the book, and they're not going to give a shit about 70 pounds of makeup. They're not going to give a fuck about the next dick they're going to ride. They're not going to care about any of that. They're going to go by the book. And that's what Ruth did. She listened to Naomi. She went by the book. And it's just so many dads don't teach that to their daughters. And these kids are growing up today. Man, I look at these females today and it just makes me fucking sick. Like, ugh. I learned before I was a believer. I did learn a very important lesson. The hotter they are, the crazier they are, right? And I don't think the same would apply to a real believer woman. I don't think that saying would be able to apply to a real believing woman. I just don't. Because, and no matter how hot they are, because it wouldn't be. How do I explain this? There's no substance to the women of today. There's nothing there. There's no character there. I'm married to one like Ruth. I'm married to one of those. And I'm very happy for that. My wife's not about 70 pounds of makeup. My wife doesn't pretend to be something she's not. She's not concerned with the latest diet and trend and fad and fitting in. It's not keeping up with the Jones. Like, I'm married to a fucking good woman. And so, and I know that. Like, a real good woman who doesn't care about being poor, who doesn't give a fuck about any of that. She just, married to a good woman. And so I'm trying to instill that into my daughters too, and I say this to you people, like, to the guys that are watching this too. If she's wearing 9 pounds of makeup, that shit's got to come off eventually. And they're just hiding who they really are from you. Like, find a woman like Ruth. That's what you should be searching for. Fuck that thing between their legs. That shit don't mean nothing, man. It's fucking garbage. I can get pussy from anybody I wanted to, essentially. If I really wanted it, I'd find it. But that's, and so many people value, women included, women and men, base their idea of love on how good the sex is. And they don't even realize they're fucking doing it half the time. And at the end of the day, that end just ends in failure, because that's not love, right? Lust is not love. Don't confuse the two, don't confuse the two. That was a mistake I made too many times. Don't confuse the two. Love is a decision. Lust is a feeling. Feelings lie. They fucking lie. The Bible doesn't. Decisions don't. You decide to love somebody, then that's it. That's it. It should be unconditional. Real love is unconditional. It doesn't fucking matter. Full forgiveness, full everything. I know my wife's gonna be, she's gonna do shitty things. She knows I'm gonna do shitty things. Neither one of us can sin. We both forgive each other for everything forever, no matter what. We don't judge each other for anything. A perfect marriage, literally a perfect marriage. I don't even know how to put it, man. Just to encourage the dads to teach their daughters, go in their fucking bathrooms and throw out all their fucking makeup, man. Get rid of it. Take all their whore clothes away. Take away their fucking cell phones and their screens. Sit them down and make them read the Bible, man. Make them read Ruth. Make them read about Sarah, Rachel, and Leah even. All the women in the Bible, they all share the same characteristics as Ruth. They're all solid. There's character there. There's like loyalty and things that don't exist in the world now. I see it and it just makes me sad. And so I try and teach my daughters, and I pray my daughters that they grow up and they learn from it. That they learn that the shit they're seeing in the world, it's fake. It's all fake. These fucking people are fake, man. Stupid bimbos are fake. Fucking they do everything for likes and views. Attention whores. Attention whores. There's no character to an attention whore. They're whores. There's no substance to them. They're whores. You cannot turn a hoe into a housewife. True fucking statement. You cannot turn a hoe into a housewife. She'll pretend like she's housewife material. You'll spend your whole life savings on her, but when the money's gone, so will she. She'll be gone too. Find yourself a woman that doesn't wear makeup. Find yourself a woman that doesn't need makeup, who has no problem farting in front of you. And when I say doesn't wear makeup, I mean even in public. It's just disgusting. Fake. They wake up, they spend 2 hours getting ready, and everything about it's fake. Everything about it's fake. And when the skin wrinkles and they start looking like a fucking leather saddlebag, you know what I mean? There's just nothing left. It's the shit. Anything you see in this world where they're trying to entice you, it doesn't mean anything. I can't stand this shit. I watch all the fucking time, man. You see the little clips on the YouTube shorts. Fucking, what's that one show where they have like the 4 dudes on one side and then a whole bunch of porn stars on the other, and the girls get all offended because the one dude's just like, you don't offer anything? You have nothing to offer? If the only thing you have to offer is the thing between your legs, then you don't have shit to offer. That's it. If that's the only thing you have to offer, then that's the only thing they're going to want. Value yourself. Value the people around you. And that's something that kids don't think about these days. How their actions are going to affect the people around them. And I'm saying this, thinking about the years and years and years. It never even crossed my mind. How if I did X, Y, and Z and got locked up, how it would affect like my mom and my sister and the people around me. I never thought about that shit until becoming a believer. Ground yourself, man. I don't know. So anyway, Ruth is a good book. It's a virtuous woman. And to any woman that ever watches this, I implore you, nay, I beg you to be like that. Be that example for your children, for your daughters. If you're a dad, teach your daughters right. Take away their fucking phones. Till they're 18 years old, they have no fucking say. None. Cops can't do shit. Be a parent. I was talking to somebody the other day, trying to get them to read the Bible with their kids. Take your children back from the devil. Take them back. That takes work. That takes that awkward moment where you snatch up their iPads and say, listen, I'm taking your iPad. Here's a King James. Let's go sit down at the kitchen table and read. And then you sit down with them, explain to them, hey, I know this is awkward. You guys are used to just playing video games all day. You go to school, you come home, you get on the fucking video games. You're used to, not very much interaction. Cut that shit. Take back your family from the devil. If they still sin, they're still of the devil. If you still sin, you're still of the devil. Recover yourself from the snare of the devil. Watch. And that's a real thing. That's what it is. That they may recover themselves. Grant them repentance. We had a really good Bible study today. I enjoyed that very much. So much. Oh, it's so funny when you teach somebody brand new and you go through it real slow with them and they realize, like, you could just see it in their eyes. Everything they've ever done, all the imaginations, all the strongholds they've built up, you could just watch it crumbling down in their brain. And you just see their face and they just sit there trying to understand and grasp it. It's so cool. It's just so cool. A servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle unto all men, and apt to teach, patient, in meekness, instructing, not begging them to listen, instructing those that oppose themselves, if God peradventure will give them repentance to the acknowledging of the truth, and that they may recover themselves out of the snare of the devil, who are taken captive by him as well. If you still sin, you still serve the devil. If you still sin, then your kids probably do too. If your kids still sin, then guess who they're of? Take back your children. Raise them properly. Raise them to walk in the truth. Raise them to be like Ruth. Raise them to be like Paul. Raise them to be about the book. Now, there's a lot of guidelines for women in the Bible, right? About not with the plaiting of hair, basically not dressing like a whore. Yeah. I hate this, man, because every time I type this shit in, like, they don't search by King James Version terminology. Nope. See, it's not even there. I just gotta pull it up on the paper. No, I know where it is. It's in 1 Timothy, isn't it? Should be. No, I know this is something for the, see, like right here. I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. For some are already turned aside. It means they were once believers, then they went backwards. For some already turned aside after Satan. If any man or woman that believeth have widows, let him relieve them. Let the church not be charged, that they may relieve them that are widows indeed. No, that's not it. Ooh, is it second? Hang on. Look it up. Is see, yeah, it is First Timothy. Damn it. First Timothy 2. I knew it. First Timothy 2. There it is. In like manner also, the women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broided hair or gold or pearls or costly array, but which becometh women professing godliness with good works. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. There's a fucking reason why it says that. And that's, people get all upset when a man says, hey, this is what the book says. But in reality, there's a fucking reason for it, because women are emotional. They blow shit out of proportion. There's actually a verse in the Bible that says for women to not be false accusers, right? Because that's what they do when they get mad. There's reasons for all this, and this is what it is for a woman's side. In like manner also that the women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broided hair or gold or pearls or costly array. You're not under any law as a believer. Do whatever the fuck you want. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you're walking around dressed like a whore, acting like a whore, don't be surprised when men treat you like one, And at the end of the day, if you're going to fuck around with sinners, you're just going to end up with a fucked up life. You're going to end up a single mom, fucking raising 2 kids by 2 baby daddies, complaining about child support, trying to find the next dumb fuck to fall for your little vagina trap. Stupid. Look for substance and character. Build substance and character in your children. Seek substance and character in the people that you deal with. Look for something that's not just skin deep. They may look real pretty on the outside, but I promise you, the outside does not match the inside. And that's what I try and teach my daughters. Make sure just go by the book. I don't know. I really don't know what else to say. I'm not a woman. I really can't tell you, but I can tell you this. If you dress like a whore, act like a whore, look like a whore, you're going to get treated like one. If you just do one of the 3, chances are everybody's just going to assume that all 3 are true. Why associate yourself to that? What the fuck, That was something it took me a long time to learn in life. Ruth is a good example of what a woman should be. A good woman, a fucking good woman. I know a couple of them. I know. I'd say I probably know more than a couple. Probably know about 5. 5 or 6 good women that I know are good women that love their man, that love their children, that take care of their house, that go by the book, that aren't whores, that don't make excuses. Those are good women. I'm married to one, and I thank God for that. And I'm raising 4 of them. 4 of them. I got screwed out of raising my other daughter, and she's all sucked into the shit where she thinks money's going to make her happy, and her status will make her happy, and that if she does this, it'll make her happy, and if she does this, it'll make everybody happy. And she's setting herself up for bitterness later in life, man. Extreme bitterness, and that makes me sad. Fucking makes me sad. Money will not make you happy at all. When it comes to the Bible, there's a good chance you're going to lose it all. If you're a real believer, you're going to lose everything you have anyway. The minute you start opening your mouth, you're going to start losing it all anyway. Money doesn't mean shit. It means nothing. God's in control of everything. If you're supposed to have it, he'll make sure you do. And I'm living proof of it. Raise your kids right. And we as believers believe there's no right and wrong. Again, we're not under any law. You're free to do whatever you want. But at its core, for soundness of mind, you know, if money's all you look for in a relationship, if looks are what you look for in a relationship, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you're one of those people that's just codependent, you just have to have somebody, anybody will do, that too will set you up for failure. It will set you up for failure. You are set up from the beginning to fail, and that's why marriages fail. Period. I mean, even with unbelievers, that is why marriages fail. Because they base their self-worth, the value of their partner, they base their, it's all based on their net worth. Their self-worth is based on their net worth. And it just doesn't work that way, right? Or you got the women, they'll meet a guy and he's got a good job and good money and he seems like he's got good values. And they marry him and then they find out that the guy's a fucking real piece of shit, But you would have seen that if you would have gone by the book, you would have known that immediately. B, you would have known not to base your decision to love somebody on those things that are fleeting, right? Just logically think about this. Do you want to be married to somebody that when the money's gone, they're gone? Do you want to be married to that? Fuck that. Ugh. Fake tits, fake ass, fake face, right? Makeup. It's a fake bitch all day long. If she's got fake tits, fake ass, and a fake face, be it makeup, plastic surgery, whatever the fuck, if she's got them fucking weave shit in there and all that just equals a fake bitch. Ruth was not one of those. And she proved it. When Naomi told her to stay out of the field with the guys, she did. She stayed out of the field. Ruth didn't know. She had no clue what was going to end up happening to her. She just knew that she made the decision to love Naomi and to stick with her no matter what, even if it meant that she wasn't going to get married or have kids again. And she ended up getting married and having kids. And Ruth ended up being the grandmother to David. Fucking imagine that, man. How cool is that? Right? How fucking cool is that? That would be so cool to see. I wish my mom would have been like Ruth. Oh, shit. That's what I grew up with. My mom was in and out of the bars. My mom was a fucking stripper. She gave it up after I was born. She gave up the stripping part after I was born, but she was still in and out of the bars my whole childhood, bringing home random dudes. And at the end, man, I don't want to say my mom died alone because she didn't. Her husband was there, but I don't know if his heart was genuine. I honestly, looking back at it now, where I sit now, I can tell you it wasn't. I hate saying it. I wanted him to really love her, but I don't think he ever really did. It was a nice insurance policy at the end for him. So, I just look at all that and just hope that showing you Ruth, doing this with you, talking about this, will help encourage you to teach your daughters to not be whores. I mean, it is what it is. We're not under any law. You can do whatever the fuck you want, but if you want happiness, you're not going to find it by basing that on anything material. Ever. Fucking ever. Happiness does not come with material things. Ask any hoarder if they're happy. They're not. They lie. They buy all the shit trying to fill the void, and they can't. And that's why they end up being hoarders. It's material things do not create joy and happiness. They do not bring peace. Ruth understood that. Value yourselves, man. Even the men, value yourselves, right? And that's the one thing that I do like. Somebody asked me about Andrew Tate earlier. That's one thing I like about him. He might be a fucking prick, might be a piece of shit. He might be all about money, but the motherfucker values himself. At the end, I think he's going to die very bitter and very alone. I mean, he already is for the most part. Everybody that's around him is only around him because of his money. When that's gone, he won't have shit left, just like everybody else. But at the end of the day, at least he values himself. And it's true. But women can't survive without men. No matter what they try and tell themselves, they cannot. Look, they can't even keep men out of their sports. How are you going to survive without men then? Get the fuck out of here. You can't. And just like a man can't survive without women. And don't you ever forget that. But the same token, you know, if you don't want to end up alone, look deeper than the pocketbook. Look deeper than skin deep. You know, it's if they're not comfortable in their own skin, if they've got to pretend to be, if they need money to validate themselves, if they need makeup, if they need fake tits, fake ass, if they need six pack and a fucking nice car and all that shit, they're fake. They're fake. That's all fake. It's all superficial fake shit. And at the end of the day, when all that shit's gone, you're going to be left with a rotten, nasty, bitter, hypocrite individual. And it's going to end. It's going to end horribly. It'll end in divorce and jail and losing half your shit, and paying child support for fucking 18 years or longer. It's no bueno, man. It's no bueno. It's just fucking no bueno. Look past skin deep. And for women too, man, don't give it up. Don't ever give it up. Don't give it up. Don't ever give it up. Like, you know, that's what I'm trying to teach my girls, man. That's it. And that's my advice for you guys. That's the book for the day. This world's fucked up place. It's a really fucked up place. This has all the answers though. And this is, I mean, it's right here. If you believe in the Bible, then you should go by the Bible. Right? Right. Very simple. For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety. Brunette, I hope I did honor to the title of a woman today. I really do. I'm not trying to downgrade anybody or anything, just simply stating facts. And I mean, these are the facts. They just really are. It's not fucking negotiable. You can try it your way, but when you fail, I'll be here when you're ready to get serious, you know? If materials and fleeting things are their security, then they're fake. There's nothing real about them, you know? I don't fuck with fake people, man. Can't do it. Can't do it. The minute, well, I can't say that either. I can't say the exact minute, but once it's established by multiple witnesses that you're a fake, I launch you out of my life. I don't want that shit around my kids. I don't want that shit around my wife. I don't want that shit around my house. If your happiness comes from money, this book is not for you. It's very serious. It's very fucking serious. You know, we had a guy was part of a group for a long time, and he said he was a believer. At one point, I kind of, you know, I wanted to believe that, but the more time went on, the more, you know, and the biggest thing was, you know, I'm not going to say who he is or anything. I don't want to get into that, but the biggest thing was, anytime he had the chance to preach to a female, every time he had the chance to preach to a female, he didn't. He fucked her. He'd take her back to his apartment. He'd fuck her. He was more about that than he was about preaching. And that's kind of when I realized he was a fake. I want better than that for my son. And for you fathers out there with your children, like you should want better than that for your children. You should want your sons to find a virtuous woman. You know, the guy in high school with all the fucking notches on his belt, that's superficial as fuck. It's superficial as fuck. That's not solid nothing. It's not cool. It's not. I thought it was, and I was the fucking king of it. But at the end of the day, like it just landed nowhere, man. Landed fucking nowhere. Now though, like now I'm looking like fuck yeah, I made some good decisions in life, and I found a woman like Ruth. And I encourage all the women that watch this channel. I encourage all the people that do the Bible studies here. Find a woman like Ruth. Teach your children, your daughters, to be like Ruth. Go buy the book. This right here, man. Go buy this, and you'll find out who's real in your life. The minute you put down the makeup, the minute that you put down the bullshit of the world, the fucking, oh, you got to look like this, and you got to look like this, and you got to have these shoes, and you got to have this, you got to have that, blah, 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 blah. The minute you put all that shit down, two things are going to happen. One, you're going to feel better about yourself. Two, well, I mean, three things. You'll have a lot more money. Three, the people in your life that measure you by those things, you'll watch them leave. Let them go. Cut the bad fruit off of the tree. You know, who wants fake friends? I sure the fuck don't. Ever. I don't give a fuck. We've been best friends for 25 years. I don't want fake friends. Ever. It's bullshit. I've never been one. Why should I keep them around? So, with all that being said, I love y'all. I don't know what else to do. This was a Bible study, so I'm just going to leave it at this, I guess. I did get up here earlier than Saturday, but Saturday at 10 o'clock, I think we'll just move on to Samuel. I mean, I'm kind of liking this. I'm on a roll. I think we'll just move on to Samuel and call it a day. Samuel's fucking good. Bring your Bibles. Bring notebooks. Brunette, this is when this will kick in, that list. I'm glad you did that. I hope you followed through with the other side of Judges. But Samuel's where that's going to kick in. So we'll probably do 15. We'll probably do 15 chapters on Saturday night. We'll see. One of these days, I need to marathon this. Like, I'm going to marathon the whole New Testament one day. Just shut up, everybody. The Bible doesn't lie. If you sin, you're of the devil. Period. And every time you sin, you prove that's who you serve. If you don't like it, do something about it. Pick up the book. Figure it out. Take the time. Take the time. Go read slow. Just is what it is. We're doing Samuel Saturday. I think that's the way I'm going to go with it. Oh, you know what else I could do while I'm here? No, I'll do it after. All right. I love y'all. I salute the brethren. Enjoy your evening. And find a woman like Ruth. Be a woman like Ruth. That's it. That's what it is, man. Oh, I'm so happy I'm married to one of those. I love y'all. I salute the brethren. Adios.